Let's talk about it with us right now. Maybe tears or laughs out loud. Let's make a difference as we speak through conversation for our future and future generations. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Hey, Ousters! Welcome back. And we are back with a special guest, as promised. And it has been some time, we know, but we also ask for your patience when it comes to Attorney Di returning to talk about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights specifically. Essentially, that is kind of where we left off. We left off with the Bill of Rights from amendments 1 through 8, and she did promise to come back and go through 9 and 10. So here we are. um, we're really excited.
Absolutely. I'm happy she said she was gonna return.
But we are going to go through it, and that's what Attorney Di has promised us. It was specifically the Bill of Rights, so we left off with 8, and she said 9 and 10 is very loaded. That's not the word that she used, but it's the word that I would use. And I think it's interesting because they actually seem very short. So I am looking forward to her kind of like breaking that down for us a little bit more. Um, because it really is a matter of we think we have this perception of what we can and we cannot do, what we're allowed. And it really did kind of show us like Una reverse psych type
I,
stuff.
I think the shocking part was the part about the fact that I always knew, right? Being prior law enforcement, I always knew that there were different levels when it comes to the law. You know what I'm saying? Like federal, state, and then you have your local. Um, um, but when she initially was like, your state does not have to, she said most states have adopted the same uh rights or laws, however however you want to say it. But just because it's here on a federal level does not mean it's on a state level. And for a very long time, I was like, "Oh no, no, no. Ain't that your right? Ain't that your right?" Right? Because I'm looking at it from the federal aspect and not really like you better look up your state laws.
Yeah.
you better look up your local laws. You better look up what is more specific or more isolated for where you are versus, and I think that's what she really put into perspective. A shocking reality. Because I think I was a little taken back and stunned. Like, wait, what? You say that I don't have that right? But I might have that right, but depending on where I live at,
Maybe.
I may be I may be. Isn't that scary though?
Uh-huh.
Maybe you have that right, and maybe you don't.
Yeah, and the truth is, like, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. It is one of the things that I learned, like, in college, and I just remember feeling, I was naive and young, and my my professor, she's like, "Yeah, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So if you did it, even though you ain't know, you're still held accountable for it in the eyes of the law," which is ouch.
No, that's absolutely I get it. I
Mhm.
absolutely if you want to know the truth, I agree. It shouldn't be a law not to murder somebody and that murdering somebody. Just for I had to think of
Mhm.
something really severe and plain, blunt, easy to see. So I just thought,
Like,
oh, sorry. Like nobody should have to tell you that
mm,
that's against the law. Certain things
mhm.
should nobody have to tell you. And
Yeah.
if you don't know, okay, sorry you ain't know, but you still gonna get this time.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's kind of weird because you don't always. The average person's not doesn't have the resources to say, "Hey, let me go hire this attorney and ask this question if XYZ is within the scope of legality or not." The average person doesn't, and what's
As you was talking, I thought to myself, I said, what people forget, I think when it comes to the law and when it comes to society in general,
mhm,
um, a lot of that person's, like, where they're from, cultural, there we go. So a lot of cultural difference kind of changes someone's perception of what they feel is wrong or right, but it still does not change what the law says, and I think that's um where it gets really what's the word I'm looking for, convoluted a little bit, because this person's belief says this is perfectly fine, or this person from their culture where they're from, they believe that these things are norm,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But now we're here and we're in a different a sense of community. We're in a different location, society, a different culture, and they're saying, "Hey, that's some weird. That's not what we believe." And sometimes it's just the clashing of different cultures. You know what I'm trying to say? Different beliefs,
yeah, um,
you know?
yeah. And then let's be honest. Like, how many of us, until this period of time, how many of us felt a need or found it necessary to know and really know and understand, like, this is the Bill of Rights that have been extended to us in our adult lives. Like, we learn this in school, we forget half the shit. But I don't think that up until this point, with the weird shit that's happening, we'll leave it at that, we didn't always recognize the importance of it, because now we're seeing, like, it feels, not seeing, it feels as if a lot of these things that's within this document is being disregarded or misinterpreted to suit a narrative of a person. And I'll be honest, like it wasn't, it never felt that important to me until now, feeling as if, or knowing that this is so fragile. Like even though this is like the one of the longest living documents of the history of the United States, it's feeling more fragile um, than I have ever known it to be. And I don't know if it's ever, maybe our prior generations have felt this way. Maybe they have seen this before, I felt this way before, but um, that's just how it feels now.
So I'm gonna look at it from the only way I know how to look at it, right? From a female, from a multicultural female, from a woman of color, right? So I feel like no matter what law it was, I always felt like it was vulnerable for me.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I always felt like regardless of what laws there were, it was always a sense of knowing some of those things are going to apply to me. If that makes sense,
Mhm.
because I realized that in my mind from the things that I saw, and maybe this is just my perspective because I've seen a lot and I've endured a lot, right? So I would think the average person would feel like this is a safety because this is a law and this is a right. But you know, even in a younger age, I knew, hey, um, they'll manipulate it or it doesn't
Mhm.
apply to me. Do you understand what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say?
Yeah.
Like, you may have that right because you're a different ethnicity. So you may have some I'm going to face some issues or some things that apply to you are not going to apply to me. No matter how safe you feel in this world, I'm always going to feel that how are they going to twist this?
Yes. And the
You
perfect
get me?
example, no, the perfect example to that is where theoretically racial profiling has been illegal. Now, what
Hmm.
the way I understand it, it has been illegal. But and what that does and what it has done is if it was in the courts found to be a violation of someone's civil rights, there was recourse because you can fight that shit in court, theoretically, right? But what's been done now is with what's happening with we're not going down a political road. This is what's happening. What the Supreme Court has done is basically allowed racial profiling in the efforts to return with illegal immigrants to where they came from. But everyone is looking at it in this one unique perspective of this is just for illegal immigrants. But that's not true. That's going to extend to everybody. So that's just my understanding of it. So I don't want to say the way I'm understanding it is essentially legalize this thing so there's no longer recourse. So if we feel that we might be a victim of, oh well, oh well.
Um, I actually saw exactly what you're talking about in a news report. Again, this is not a political thing. This is what we know to be, not an opinion. This is what we know to be. It was on the news about an incident that I believe was in North Carolina, and it was a Spanish American saying that he was detained.
A young boy, young fella. Yep.
From my understanding, he was released. The person that I'm talking about
He
was
was.
released, but he was detained under the assumption because he was Latino and that he was not an American citizen.
Yeah, young fella. And then when they released him, they like threw his shit on the ground, and he was like, "Shh." whatever. They're very I'm gonna be very careful because I don't want to talk about that stuff. I'm gonna keep it on topic because I'm gonna keep it on topic. And that's all we all say about that. Um, but yeah, we are really excited for Attorney Di to return. She's going to be with us shortly, and we really appreciate you kind of sticking with us and doing all of the things when it comes to this particular series. But we are super grateful and thankful that you are back with us.
Oh, thanks.
And we're excited to finish out the series. So we're kind of going to hop into it. But we read those last two. We're like,
What? What does that even mean?
Oh yeah, that part right there.
Yep, we'll get it. We'll get it.
Please don't leave me unattended because
it was. I don't know. I think the biggest thing is that it was vague to me. But it is what it is. Everybody, Di is here, and she's going to take it on home with us for the amendments 9 and 10, as promised. So we're really grateful for her to say, yes, let's do it. And as we expressed, like, let's be patient because, she's got her own channel and she's quite successful. So we're just grateful. But let's do it. The 9th Amendment.
Yes.
Vague Central.
All right. Girl, I'm so happy you are here.
Oh.
You're going to have to break this down, please.
Mhm.
Like, huh? Okay. 9th Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Failure of the Constitution to mention the specific rights does not mean that the government can abridge. I'm looking at that right? Yes, abridge the right, but its protection has to be found elsewhere. Girl, please.
Right.
Ma'am, please and thank you so much.
Yes. Now, the 9th and the 10th Amendment are weird. They're just weird. The whole history, of course, behind the Bill of Rights, which we've been talking about, is that Madison wrote them after the Articles, right? So he had the structure of the government through the Articles. And then when he was working on the Bill of Rights, we had 1 through 8, essentially. And then he's like, okay, we're good. We're done with 8. And the states were like, no, we need more. And so they wanted to put together something that would catch all of the rights that they knew they were missing in the rest of the Constitution. And Madison and Hamilton really kind of argued it out because Hamilton was saying, look, if we write it down, then we're not going to have any room to add anything. And we're going to kind of close up talking about it. So he felt if we were too specific, everybody would be going and following every single letter of the law and not allowing anything else. So he's worried about that. Meanwhile, Madison also didn't want to do it, but he came around and he's like, I think if we could put some language in there that says we know we've not given all the rights, we've not talked about all the rights because there's all kinds of stuff going on. I think we'll be okay. And so then he drafted that 9th Amendment. And the 9th Amendment actually is just kind of like a door that's been left open in case there need to be some different kinds of states' rights and people rights. So most people don't realize it, but our privacy rights are covered by the 9th Amendment.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you. Like, so that where it comes in as far as isn't that what ultimately got Roe v. Wade instituted the first? Well, prior to it being repealed. I said that right.
Right, right. Well, and Roe v. Wade gets a little bit complicated because they actually in Roe used the Fourth Amendment to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures to include the person. right? So, like, you can't come in and take anything from a person. And that Fourth Amendment was very strong. But then they came in with the analysis in the Ninth Amendment. Like, is this really a constitutional right? And Alito in Dobbs was able to use that Ninth Amendment and say, no, this isn't a right. This is not a right that anyone has. This is not what the founding fathers intended. So, no, those kinds of medical procedures are not rights. And he took them away and he used the Ninth Amendment to do that.
That's bonkers.
I
Let
know.
me
I
just
know.
sit with this for a second.
Yes.
It seems like we should have an amendment just for body autonomy
Well,
for all persons.
Oh, that
we tried. I mean, we tried. But yeah, I mean, again, and I probably already told you this in the first set, but we had a case where Buck v. Bell, where the government, against her will, sterilized a woman who was uh she had some mental issues and she was in a I don't want to say sanatorium, but she was in a mental institute. Sean. And the court said, we're going to sterilize. That's okay to sterilize the woman so she doesn't have any kids because, quote, 3 generations of imbeciles is enough because the court had seen her mother and her grandmother having mental health issues. So they just sterilized her against her will and a young woman in her prime. So that was okay. But then we had another case where there was a dude who was convicted of some crap and they gave him chemical castration pills. So he was no longer able to function. So he appealed it and said to the court, like, well, I want to have kids in the future. And, this is all messed up. And the court said, well, you're right. That's such a sacred right that you have with your plumbing, we're going to go ahead and make it illegal to include that as part of the punishment. And you might think, well, that would change the original case against the woman. Technically, no. Technically, legally, if a state were to say, we're going to sterilize a woman for 1, 2, 3, technically, that could still happen because Buck v. Bell was never overturned.
So I wonder if that's why, because there's known cases of in Puerto Rico specifically
Mhm.
where women were sterilized or given like birth control, telling them it was a vitamin and all this other stuff. So that's what allowed that to continue to happen. And also, is it because it's not a state, it's a commonwealth, if you will?
Right. Well, it gets a little bit tricky because common law or judge made law is another area of law that we have to rely on, but there's no federal common law. So even we don't, so it only, if the
Okay.
Supreme Court makes a decision, it applies to the states. And so each states individually need to follow that Supreme Court decision. But again, it's going to be up to the states to decide whether or not to have that law.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I can think of a couple states that might do that.
Where's North Carolina on that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Just
saying.
curious.
But I will tell you though that we've got a bit of a like a posse or a bit of a group of us out here. Like we're watching. We're like, is Buck v. Bell here in your language? Because like we're not doing that again.
The funny thing
So
is, like, I don't necessarily see anything. Please don't judge me. I don't see anything wrong if someone is a pedo or violating
mhm,
women. I think it's fair. It's a fair treatment to have chemical castration, especially just in general. Yes, yes, because we should have the right to say yes or no when it comes to dealing with our partners. Like I don't see anything wrong with it, but then it does kind of give that flip side of like, well, what about if the roles were reversed? Like, what is that line? But then why would it be okay? They repeal that for men and make, oh, you can't do that for guys, but for women, it's like, whatever.
I
all
I
right, all
do
right.
have one thing that I do wanna say. I'm not
Sure.
even gonna lie, but I see it in your face, and I cannot thank you enough for breaking this down. But sometimes, like, after you tell us something, I see it in your face, like, "Yeah, I hate to tell you, but yikes."
It's true. I'm like, "Oh dear. This this sucks. I gotta tell tell 'em what's happening," and it's a
That part.
crappy case.
Like, let me tell you your reality.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's kind of like what we were saying, like yesterday when we did the pre-recording. It was like we didn't, it really is up to us as individuals to, and we might have said this in the last go round. And you really have to be aware of it, of what's happening in your state and in your local government. And it's even like I was sharing, what was I talking about? I was saying how, prior to this administration, the first go around,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't very, and not a political direction, but like I didn't feel the need to feel so aware of what's happening. And then here we are.
Right. Right. Well, and I think too, honestly, if you look back into the two Obama administrations, when you woke up in the morning, you're like, all right, he's in charge. Let's get going on with my day. And that was kind of the feeling a lot of people had. Now, don't get me wrong. Obama did some things that I thought were like, what are you doing, dude? But we still had that sense of like, we're not going to have, the nukes flying, which we just don't have anymore. So it's almost like this ongoing sense of, tragedy that's in front of us.
Yeah. And it just feels like up until, and especially even more so now, I never felt so feeling like I have ignored this part of what we are or not able to do, but like we need to be paying better attention. Even if
Hmm.
we can't do anything, we can only do what's within our realm. But even if
Right.
it's just to bear witness to what's being said,
Yeah.
sometimes that's important.
It is. It is. It's so important. And now a lot of people are starting to get engaged. And I think that's probably the silver lining coming out of all of this is people realizing like, wow, maybe we don't have all the information. Maybe that, government class could have included a little bit of propaganda. And then also we've been busy. We're busy. We got lives to live. We don't need to be, messing around with the Constitution all the time. Well, I mean, I do, but normal people don't. So yeah, and I've seen that a lot that there's just kind of this misunderstanding or you're just busy. It's so that's another reason why I like to come out and talk with people.
And if you guys are listening and watching, Di has this phenomenal closet docket, which I learned just last night is up to how many? Over
I think we're
500 cases.
we're over 500. Yeah.
So over 500.
Yes,
So
it's
if you
spreading
guys,
like a virus. It's spreading around my room.
and these are like civil rights or violations of constitutional rights. And I believe that's unprecedented and unheard of. So if you have, like, this is so you don't have any doubts as far as what we are talking about. Like, Di is fully capable, fully aware, and intelligent to spread this information for educational purposes. And she's taking time to actually track this. So up to 500, over 500 cases
Yeah.
in less than a year of one administration. To me, that seems absurd. It's
It
the best
is.
I can say.
It really is absurd. I mean, this is crazy town we're living in here. We had if you look at the past presidents, the one that was most litigious, of course, was during I don't have to say orange anymore. During Trump's first administration, he had the winning number of them, but this nothing like this has ever happened before. And when you think about it, it's 500 cases claiming that the executive branch is doing something that is unconstitutional. I mean, that's a lot. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
and I'm not an attorney, and I wonder, like, would an attorney take on a case? Sorry, would an attorney? Sorry, would an attorney take on a case like this if they didn't feel like it was founded?
Yes, yes, they would. And that's such a great point because a lot of the DOJ attorneys were hearing about this quite a bit with the Comey business going down. But a lot of attorneys that they have in there now are like, sure, we'll do whatever you want. Most of us, though, we are kind of a self-regulating occupation. And what's most important to us is our oath that we take to the Constitution, become an officer of the court. And that oath should mean something. And because of that, when we're looking at these cases here, I'm not talking about pro se people filing against the government. I'm not talking about various other ways you can file a lawsuit. These cases are brought by certified law firms. Unions are bringing cases. We have all kinds of nonprofit groups that are bringing cases. So the ones I'm tracking and counting are those with a professional legal team that has filed it. And again, we're over 500. Like, that's a lot.
So, like, for anyone who's second guessing, like, what is all of this about? Like, that's a big thing to take note of because they're saying you've got attorneys who are willing to say, hey, this is unconstitutional. This is against this person's civil rights. That's a big, like, it is just too big of a number to be ignored. So, if anyone's doubting this, just follow the breadcrumbs or look at that trail. If
Or the
we're only,
post-it notes.
or the ice posted notes.
All the post-it notes, people.
I don't know. Like, so you've exhausted one closet wall. Like, what are you gonna do when it gets past the 500 and something?
I when we first started, I mean, I've got big, huge closet doors. We first started, it's like, all right, all right, all right. But now it's like gone to the hubs closet. It's gone to some foam boards. It's gone to the linen closet. It's at a point now where the hubs just comes in and he's like, uh-huh. And,
He's
and I'm like, don't worry. We still have 3 more years. And he's like, uh-huh. So the Ninth Amendment, right? And again, with the language, you can see that they're saying, we missed some stuff. We know we missed some stuff. So y'all need to take care of that if it comes up again. Now, one thing that I think is a really good example of when the Ninth Amendment's been used, like a lot, has to do with the let's see, how do I say this? I guess I don't have to filter as much. So
nope.
we had the right to die, right? That's the big one. That's the Ninth Amendment, and this was huge, like in the 90s, very huge, where the people are saying, like, we have a right to pass on, and you shouldn't be able to regulate that government. And one of the big arguments was, well, under the Ninth Amendment, this right to be able to die isn't covered in the Constitution, but it's covered under the Ninth Amendment. Ultimately, that was not favored by the Supreme Court, so that is not what the standard is for that particular one. It's kind of really left up to the states, but that's just another example. And the courts that set out the interpretation of the Ninth Amendment, they said this is to cover what they call, or we call, the penumbra in the Constitution, or the things that are hinted at, but not specifically written out. So also in the ink blots is what the Supreme Court was saying at the time. So it makes it so that things can be put in that we need, but also it leaves it up to the Supreme Court to ultimately make that decision.
Is it fair to say that that amendment is kind of what allowed for the future amendments to take place? Because they're saying, well, we know that we're not capturing everything. And I think there was another amendment which allowed additions to even be made, but it kind of ties together and saying, we know we didn't capture anything. And it's with this kind of understanding, like more to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And again, we have to remember the Constitution is in place because it's trying to keep the government from overreaching. So when we're talking about any of the privacy rights and such, if a state passes a law regarding privacy, it's like, well, how do we litigate that? Because that's not in the Constitution. So we have to find that kind of broad umbrella clause, a piece of the Ninth Amendment to get the doors open to start talking about what the issue is. So that's a lot of how the Ninth Amendment's been used over the years. And again, with the Dobbs case that pulled Roe, there was a lot of analysis saying, well, what exactly, do they mean by rights? And then Alito going all the way back and saying, well, we didn't, at the time, they didn't even know this was a right. And it happened all the time. And comparing a I had to get used to it, comparing abortion today to abortion in the 1700s, a little different, little different.
Yeah. Um, it would be, okay. Yeah. It would be nice. I don't know.
It'd be nice if they didn't do that kind of crap. Yes, true. True story. And we get into trouble because we still have these cases left open too. Like, why can't we pull Buck v. Bell? Why can't we make it so that that's not how the law is anymore?
So there's these open-ended cases like Buck v. Bell that why like this is gonna sound so I'm trying to put my thoughts into words. Like why does it like this government's been running for a while? When was Buck v. Bell? Was it I'm assuming somewhere around the
Yes.
70s? So 1970 something roughly?
Well, a little bit earlier, it was Oliver Wendell Holmes who made that statement. So a little bit before then.
So like from the 60s onto 2025, it's so open-ended. So is it because I don't know, someone brings it to the table and then it just drops off somewhere? They just kind of forget about it because it's not the it thing for the moment?
When it comes to cases, yeah. When it comes to these big rules, yeah. And I think it's even more now because everyone's like, quick, 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 quick. Let's move forward. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm scrolling there with you. I'm in there scrolling. It's like 2 in the morning. I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Keep scrolling. But when it comes to our law cases, and this is one thing that I've started again on my TikTok channel, is you got to see the history, how we built it, because the history is how we got to where we're at right now. And so if you watch the steps, like in the Buck v. Bell case that I was just talking about with sterilization, it was so incredibly upsetting. There was a woman, a gynecologist, and she wanted to open a clinic to provide information to wives about their own health of their own body. So when we're talking about sterilization, when we're talking about birth control, those things, she wanted to open a clinic so that she could give information out, and that was challenged. The law said no, you may not open a clinic in order to give information to women about reproductive questions. And so they went to court, and then we have Griswold versus Connecticut. That's the case. And Griswold was the woman that started Planned Parenthood. That was the case where the court came in and said, you may not deny access to information and knowledge. And that's how they presented that to the court. They're like, we're just trying to get info here. We're not trying to, hurt anybody. And the court finally agreed. So that was our first step through that door. And I know lately you've probably heard Griswold being discussed or maybe pinged here and there because there's this discussion now of overruling it, of putting that issue in front of the court again and having
What?
this Supreme Court overrule that. hmm Now, is that going to happen? Hold on, I don't believe so, but I will say that's definitely in the line that people are starting to hear and worry about. Sorry.
That face, that one right there. Hate to tell you.
Sorry about that.
Like,
It's
there's no delicate way to put this.
like, what upside down world is this?
Yeah. I know, and again, as attorneys, it's like we're all on red alert. Like the signal's gone. It's been going for like 9 months, and we're like, "Who's got Griswold?" And so we'll have a group over here like we do, and then the next one we're like, "Who's got that one?" So we're just kind of like pockets of attorneys running after this stuff, making
But
sure that it's not going to be overturned.
then it's
I was
kind
gonna ask
of
you what makes you feel like it may not work? Because in my mind, when you said it, I see a lot of other things that I felt like, "Oh, yeah, 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 unlikely," and then you're like, "Oh, wow, you did that."
Mhm.
Um, so, uh, you with your experience, what indicates to you that that might not happen? Because as soon as you said it, I was in my like, "Oh gosh, here we go." I'm look.
Right. So are you meaning the overturning of the Griswold case?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes, yes,
sure,
yes.
sure. Now, a couple things we have to remember with Dobbs, the abortion case, is that when Dobbs was decided, there was no federal statute in place. They had not codified Roe. Roe had been just running around crazy town for a long time, and Congress didn't make it a federal law. In exchange, of Obergefell, the right to marry for same-sex couples, that was codified like a month after the Supreme Court case came out. So those two cases are just absolutely different on different roads. Griswold, the true issue was whether or not to give information out regarding um, those kinds of questions, the reproductive health questions. And the court was saying we have a right to be taught, to learn. And so I think because it's down a little bit of a different road, they're not going to be able to completely pull Griswold again. And because of that, then that original issue of um, contraception, sorry, I
Okay.
should really know that word. That's an important word to know. So that you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Act on that one. So,
I can't go easy on that. That should have come
No.
quicker. I should have had that right out the door, but I didn't. Sorry.
Then we should have an amendment. Just my 2 cents.
Mhm.
We should have an amendment that like it has like a right to health care, not just for women, but for everybody. And because like contraception and education about our bodies is for everybody, like
Right.
that falls under proper health care. So if they really tried, and they were successful in, uh, if they were to be successful in repealing it, like wouldn't then couldn't someone just say, hey, look, we have a right to appropriate health care, no matter what that looks like.
Hmm.
We should have that right. Like, why should we not know about our bodies? And this is men, women, it doesn't even matter.
Well, in that right, and one of the things though that's so annoying is like we do have that right. We do have it under equal protection, life, liberty, pursuit of property. So our life and our liberty, we've got that. But the problem is how this Supreme Court is interpreting it. So they're interpreting it like, well, that's not a right that's covered. You don't have equal protection for that. So the question of we need an amendment to really hone in on that, I agree. We need a lot of amendments. That equal rights amendment, goodness gracious, that should be like at the top of the list to try again. But even with those amendments, if it gets up to the Supreme Court and we've got Alito and Thomas still on the court, we're still going to have problems. Yeah, sorry. Sorry again.
It's not all fun and games, people. This is real shit
it's
here.
it's right. But
but in my
but what
mind, God forgive me, but I was thinking, I wish it was some other people that knew that word contraception. Uh,
amen. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I didn't think that would really help.
Well, that then is that's the Ninth Amendment. But ching, that's the end of it. It gets kind of reinterpreted every time it's in front of the court, but it certainly is being used a lot right now because of the administration. They're saying we get to do this as the state. You need to back off and let's put that Ninth Amendment into the complaint when we're filing with the court.
The 10th Amendment is the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. The federal government is the recipient of constitutionally delegated powers. What is not delegated remains to the states or in the people. So it's kind of like where they pushed uh, Roe v. Wade to the states as opposed to letting it be a federal right. That's one example.
Right. Well, in the ninth and 10th work together. They both open the doors. And here, let me pull up my, hold on. At this point, I always like to do the first few words of each of those amendments because I think that's what really illustrates the difference between the two of them. Hold on, I found it. Yay, I found it. Okay, okay, here we go. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. But then the next amendment, the 10th Amendment, here says the powers. So there's a difference between certain rights and the power. So those are distinctive amendments. We're again with the Ninth Amendment, like right to privacy versus the 10th Amendment, where the states have a right to regulate their own road stuff. So there's a power given to the movements on being able to add different things that weren't in there before, as opposed to the rights of the ninth. The Ninth Amendment, you've got rights under there. We don't know what they are. The
Okay.
10th Amendment is there is a way for you to govern this. All right. So even if you're not at that federal level, so it allows our government statewide and us to go forward. Because again, we're rare, the rights of the states are not listed specifically in the Constitution. They were like an afterthought. The whole Constitution was written for the federal government. And in fact, we couldn't even use the Bill of Rights for the first like 20 years. So it was important, I guess, for Madison and Hamilton when they were sober to include a Ninth Amendment option and the 10th giving them the power to implement the Ninth Amendment.
So is that kind of like where you would have, and I just thought of this recently because we were traveling and my husband had spent some time in a what we'd call a dry town.
Hmm.
And he's like, where they just don't. So is that kind of like using that as an example? It like if like with the prohibition, and that was I forget which amendment that made like repealed that, but it's kind of left it up to the states to be able to say, well, yes, this is how we're going to prohibit or allow like alcohol.
Right. And actually, that's a really good example because, we've got the feds up there passing this amendment, like no intoxicating liquors. And it's basically like you can't consume them, you can't sell them, you can't buy them, but everything else is okay. Like, so that's why everyone's making moonshine in their bathtub, right? Because like that's okay. But but you're right, that's where that Ninth Amendment comes in, and they're saying, "Hey, we have this right, and our states should be able to regulate it at whatever level that they want." And what happened there with, prohibition is we had this, report come out, and a top dog was investigating, and he came back, and he's like, "This is not working. This is not working," because it's turning into an organized crime, country, essentially, from that. But another Ninth, and 10th Amendment right that was focused on something a little bit easier would be something like the seatbelt law, right? You know how you're required to wear a seatbelt? That had been set out at the federal level first, and then the states could do it if they wanted to do it. Now, the feds don't have the power to like take away a state's right to regulate whether or not seatbelts are on there because there's of the ninth and 10th, right? It's not specifically set out in the Constitution. It's not said you can't do it in the Constitution. So it's in this gray penumbra area. Like we want everyone to wear seatbelts, but Oklahoma's like, ride free or die. And they're like, that's what we want to do. And so, what can the federal government do? In the past, what they did was they would withhold federal funding until the state complied. But this was the nuclear option. They very rarely ever used that threat. Now that Orange is in office, it's everything is that threat. And so we see how this little teeny tiny loophole that was made regarding federal funds, and literally the seatbelt is a great case to show that, has now exploded because it didn't have enough to rein it in. So it turned into this huge loophole that he's trying to do. But I
But then
digress.
it's
If you don't want to wear a seatbelt, that's going to be up to your state to decide. Or a motorcycle helmet. That's another one where each state can choose what they want for safety because that's one of the pieces of the Ninth and 10th Amendments.
but then it's like if okay, so the 10th Amendment is supposed to protect against government overreach, but then you say, hey, you know what? We're just going to withhold these funds until you
Mhm.
comply here.
Yeah.
I mean, is it overreach?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, that's when we kind of got to fight out because again, that we have to go back to the ninth and figure out, well, is this a right that the government's
Mhm.
taking away or preventing us from having? And then through the 10th, how do we implement that? What kind of state rule, law, ordinance is going to make it so that we get what we want, even though it's against the federal system? And before, most times, the feds were like, we don't care what you do, we're busy. But now we're in a situation where like $400 billion is being withheld from states for projects, grants, research, road work, all kinds of infrastructure. Billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars is just sitting there because he won't release it, which is illegal. through the Impoundment Act. But as we know, it takes a while to get through the courts.
400 billion?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more now.
So when you say them withholding the funds, that is also what's kind of spilled over when it comes to the education and what can and cannot be taught. And that's where they're using that, correct?
Absolutely. They're using that to bully anyone that has that kind of like regulation where you're really relying on it, like education. They're saying if you don't do what we tell you, we're not going to say your curriculum is up to standards that you need. We're gonna just say no, you're out. We're not going to certify your university or your school anymore because you didn't do what we wanted you to do with immigrants, right? I mean, that's like taking it to the very next level, but because of how the law's been written and people have used it and the reliance on like honesty or honor of the executive branch was so heavy that there was not a piece in there to kind of prevent those kinds of threats, unfortunately. But absolutely, I would say our education's been hit very hard. Also, our infrastructure has been hit very hard. That means all the states now trying to go in without FEMA funds, those are all being denied, using
Yes.
state money to try to help. And state money to try to help in the education world too, because of how crappy everything has been turning out for that. Because they're like, oh, we don't need a Department of Education. Like, okay, then why are you out there, bullying people with it?
I mean, it was created for a reason. It's not. Here's the shit. Here's the shit. Like, it was created for a reason. These programs were
Mm,
created for a reason. It's not like someone woke up one day and say, I'm going to create this program. There, at the time, it was put in place because there was a need. So to suddenly say, "Oh, there's no longer a need," despite what everyone saw coming out of COVID, how
mhm.
like reading levels and math levels fell, you can't tell me that it's not necessary.
Right.
Um, but it's not like someone just made it for, excuse me, but shits and giggles, like, and just to
Right, right.
suddenly wake up and say, "Hey, we don't need this anymore. We're gonna keep the money."
Yeah, well, and it's so heartbreaking because there was such a need for it. I believe it was Carter that was involved when it passed, and it was this idea that we're trying to as much discrimination and prejudice that we have in the United States, we mustn't forget how discriminatory uh, issues are within the wealthy and the poor. That's another huge category. I don't like to say poor because, that's derogatory, but that's what I'm saying. So between the rich and the poor. And so what happened with the Department of Education is they said, let's make sure everybody is playing by the same set of rules so that we can go forward with education for our children. So not specifically setting out too much, but the word I was looking for is accreditation, right? That's
Accreditation.
the word the feds can pull from schools. So, that was really the impetus that moved that forward for the Department of Education. And again, I wonder too, this other question about money that we're talking about, like, all right, you shut it all down, you fired hundreds of thousands of employees. Where's all that money at? Uh, and also, now that those are closed, like, where's the money going? Right? Because you're not spending all this money on the Department of Education, on, uh, people and human rights. You're not spending that money on that. So where's that gonna go now? Some people are claiming, well, it's gonna go to tax breaks for people who may not really need them. We just don't know. But slashing these programs like this is cutting all of the money, uh, from that particular group as well. So the money's a piece as well in this whole issue.
And I mean, I could be wrong. Like, we know that some of that funding is going into um, border protection, stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I think our military may some that's where it's going. But that's a lot of money to take away from the citizens, which incidentally are paying into this.
Mhm.
We pay taxes,
Right.
we're paying it. um,
Yeah.
and then to not have it go into things that we need for the state, because we pay a lot into federal taxes, and I don't know.
It's frustrating, and there's a
Yeah.
case right now that I'm putting together, talking about whether or not you can sue the government for using your tax money like crazy. So
I
I'll
was
have that
just
posted.
Class action suit?
Uh,
I was just oh my god, I was literally gonna talk about that because I'm like, so what am I paying taxes for? But then if I don't pay taxes, then
it's like
I'm gonna
Alcatraz,
be right.
right?
So I'm like, is there a way that us as a people can say, I am not giving my money to you legally a
Mm-hmm.
way to do
Mm-hmm.
that to where, I'm not in jail for what is it, tax evasion, right? Like,
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty much.
So
that's
a legal legit way that we
yeah.
can say, that's not what I want to do with my money because y'all get my money before I even get my money. And
Mm-hmm.
then you charge me at the end of the year too for some
Mm-hmm.
more of my money. And so, can I have a say, please?
Hang on.
Right.
No, no, no.
Wrong.
Oh, dang. There you
No,
go.
no, no,
That's
no.
another level.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
Let me talk you through. So this case I was talking about was a woman who I know, I know. She was very conservative, and there was a statute in place to help moms, new moms, with being, everything that needs to happen with a mom after they've had a baby. The moms need help too, and then of course the babies as well. So it was a bit like a WIC situation, but it was funding that was going from taxes into programs to help new mothers. And this woman's like, I don't think that's okay. I think that I don't want my tax money spent on that because I don't think that single moms are appropriate. I mean, it's like, what the H is that? And that's how you know it's an older case.
Yeah.
So the court came back in and said, you can't just sue because you don't like where your tax money's going. And there's a few more pieces to that. But when you go forward on any lawsuit, you've got to have standing. That's where our problem is when it comes to taxing or saying, I'm not going to pay my taxes, because you have to have an intent specific to you that's caused harm rather than the entire country. Because, yeah, that's the class action potential for sure. But just you yourself, if you're going to sue, you have to specifically been harmed and be able to point your finger at the person who wanted to or negligently harmed you. So
Does
it's very difficult.
does PTSD count as being hard? Because I think a lot of us
Working
are
on it.
feeling a little
Yeah.
having
We're
some PTSD from.
I tell you what, after this administration's over, we're going to need like a cabinet position to deal with PTSD. Like, I am emotionally scarred for life. And then we can have that person from the cabinet position come in and be like, here's $5,000. I know it's been awful and I know it's just money, but here's $5,000. And, that might work.
Instead of like tariff checks, give us PTSD checks.
Exactly. It's like, that'll help you with your therapy this year, just a little bit.
Do you think so? Could if a bunch of people said, "Look," and this like could this qualify as standing, saying, "Hey, listen, this administration is stressing us out to no end. We have no idea. We have no faith in our government. Where is this our money going to?" Would that give standing to a class action if, let's say, I don't know,
Hmm.
10 people? Well, how many cases? Is it 3 cases to qualify for a class action?
I think so. Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Okay. So hey,
Well,
look,
well,
would
right.
it?
Well, it's a good point. But again, I'm sorry. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no.
The-
Or no.
what happens? What happens is, yikes. Uh,
Wait.
I know. If we were to put a class action together, the flip side of that, the defense would come in and say, you voted. This is your voting decisions, and everything was done properly, legally. And by voting, you had that representation. So basically, it's like one of those, like, you asked for it. because of the people that you put into place. And I've seen the government come through with those kinds of arguments before. It's still a pain in the butt. I still encourage people to file all they want and make sure that they have a delivery to the White House for each time that you file. But alas, the practicality piece of it is going to be reigning in the fact that, people are making these decisions that other people voted for.
Could the states do it? Like as a state class action suit for like some of the bipolar behaviors of stuff?
Actually, yes. Yes, we
Oh.
have. We've got a posse. I don't know. I keep saying posse because of posse comitatus. I can't stop. I blame the government for that, man. Like, give me back my cool card, man, dude. Anyway, sorry. So, right, what were we talking about before my cool card got involved? I'm just traumatized.
So could I probably shouldn't have said the bipolarness of this administration. So like could the states, a better way
Right,
to say
right.
it, could the states come together and say, you know what, there's a lot of
Yes.
things, could they do it?
Yes, yes, and they are. That was what I was trying to tell you, and that's important. Again, can't believe I forgot it, but that's very important. We have groups of states that have been, like, ready. They were the ones that were warming up before, the race, and so they were already in play to know that they were gonna need to do this. So, the lawsuits brought by the states against this administration are, like, I don't know, almost 50 maybe? I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot. And included in those are all of these nuanced questions like what we've been talking about. So the attorney generals are upset. And the states where the attorney generals are Republicans or MAGAs, they're going to the governors. And the governor's like, my AG won't file, but I will file as the governor of Virginia. And so that's another way that they're kind of dealing with the fact that there's this political issue going on, but yet this is so important. A state doesn't want to be left behind because of it.
Is it fair to say this is gonna sound kind of crazy in left field, but like I can't seem to find the positive into how everything's going right now. But like, is it fair to say that the one positive that's coming from this is that it's showing all of the holes in our system, that it's actually allowing for all of, between the class actions and the civil suits and,
Mhm.
constitutional violation suits. That's the only positive that's coming out of this, is it's just highlighting that these are issues and it's gonna theoretically
Right.
make things
I
change.
and I think it goes even a step further than that, in all honesty. As a attorney for my first 5, 10 years, working through everything and being like, "Oh my god, this is awful. How's this the rule?" But then now I'm like, "Hey, they're talking about that rule that I was thinking was awful." And so what I think's happened is the doors have been opened. None of this is like new shocking information. The shock is in being able to now say, "Wow, he's saying all of that out loud, and now we need to clean it up." So I've always kind of felt a bit of a disconnect between the American people and truly knowing what's happening in the country when it comes to the legal system. I mean, there's just a lot of people talking back and forth about do this, do that, blah, 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 and that's fine. But if you don't know what's in the Constitution, you can't help yourself from being harmed by the government. And we've got a government that's not against harming us. And I think that's another key factor.
That's true. I watched John Oliver last week tonight, and
We love him.
yes, and
We
he
love you,
did.
John Oliver.
We
Thanks for
really
watching our
do.
podcast.
And he did this segment. I think it wasn't this past week. It might have been the prior week, where he was talking about felony murder, and
Yes.
how I don't know if it's states have sent people to jail for felony murder for years at a time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how aggressive it is and how bad it is. And I forgot where I was going with this. But it was highlighting the things that need to be fixed within our system, right? And
Right.
like that's something that would need to be fixed to a degree. And that's kind of like where, like, if these three people get together and let's say they're gonna do something illegal that ultimately causes someone else to pass away during the act of,
Mhm.
all of those three people can go to jail for life or more. And
Mhm.
I think that someone was even sentenced, possibly Florida, don't quote me on it, was sentenced to what's the word? Sentenced to death and was
Mhm.
ultimately from it, even though he didn't actually commit this thing. He was
Mhm.
there.
That
I'm
sounds
trying to think.
Florida. I bet you it is
Florida, right?
Florida. It sounds
Um,
Florida, yeah.
and like it's one of the things that needs to be changed, but no one's really talking about it. And I
Right.
didn't know it was a thing until I watched that segment. And I was like, okay, you're never driving with a bunch of people at a time. You
Yes.
can only drive by yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody else can get in your car.
I think, is that kind of like what they have, the hands of one, hands of all? Is that what you're referring to? Like someone, I don't know if that's the actual, that's what, listen, it's been a minute. I used to be
It's
a
okay.
cop, but it used to be hands of one, hands of all.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. I
Is
believe
that
you.
what, is that what that is?
Can you
Is that what
explain
you're
that?
referring to pretty much?
Can
Is
you
what you were
explain that
talking about?
a little bit more? Can you explain that a little bit more from your perspective?
S- The hands of one, hands of all?
Mhm,
That means if I'm with you, even if I don't have any knowledge
mhm,
of your game plan, I'm with you. Like you just said, we're all in this car together. Um, if you get caught, I'm with you. And even though I didn't have any
mhm,
uh knowledge, or I might have knowledge, but I was scared to say something. Oh well,
mhm,
we're going to jail too. Whatever whatever they say that person's crime is, that crime is now your crime because y'all was together. That's hands of ones, hands of all. If we're in a store together and you're stealing and I ain't got nothing to do with that, and we
mhm,
walk out that store together, guess
mhm.
what? We all getting arrested.
No, you run, you run.
No, no, I'm scary. No,
No, don't run, don't run.
stop.
There's nothing
Yes.
here.
That part.
Okay. I thought that was an excellent explanation. Excellent. I would say for in the legal field, if you wanted to get fancy with the terms, that's what a conspiracy is. That's what accessories before the fact and accessories after the fact. Those are the charges that we use when other people are involved. So you've got to find the intent level on it with everybody. But yeah, I mean, and with your background, you probably that still haunts you, I'm imagining. But if someone pulled over a
We've talked
vehicle,
about it.
right?
We talked about it. Me and my sister have definitely talked about it. I've seen some stuff like, "Whoa."
No. Oh, it changes you forever. And I
It
think
does.
it makes you also be grateful if you can put it in a box and put it to the side, because that's the strength that you have to do that. It's difficult. Well, I got serious. Sorry. Okay, where were we? All right, four
Yeah.
dumbasses in a car. There's
That
four
part.
there's four dumbasses in a
The
car.
one that
Okay.
knew, the one that didn't know, the one that's gonna do it, and the one that just needed a ride. I just needed to get
I need to get to work.
I just needed a ride.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even really know them like for real. I just needed a ride. That's it.
That's right. That's right. They just were gonna give me a ride, and look what happened. This bullshittery has occurred.
That.
Right. So 4 people in a car, all right? And then let's say they're all underage. We'll just make it easy here. And then there's a 6-pack of bottles in the middle of the car on that little console piece, right? So they're driving around, and then the officers are pulling them over in possession of alcohol as a minor, right? Or underage possession. So then the question becomes, who gets charged in that car? Who is the one who gets charged?
The adult. The
Well,
oldest one, the adult, right?
well,
Right? Like
it
if there's an
can
adult in there.
It
No?
can be. Well, they're all minors though. If
Okay.
they're all
Oh.
18.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I be
No,
slow
it's okay.
sometimes.
No, you're right though. No, you're right. You go after that adult. Like we don't want to deal with those kids.
Right?
That's that's true
They get
story.
away with everything. I
So then,
know.
and then it's all of them. Like there's a case out of Winston Salem in North Carolina, and just a podcaster who there was a basketball player who the only reason why this case became more well known, I believe, is because there was a basketball player's a relative
Sure.
involved, and these kids basically, first of all, they claim innocence, and I think it was four young teens went to jail for their whole life,
Ooh.
um, for being for allegedly unaliving this basketball player's grandfather.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they don't, according to them, that they weren't even there.
Wow.
They weren't even there, but they basically, they went to jail for a very long time, but they
Yeah.
all got charged because they were together.
Right. The hands,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Absolutely. And right. And I mean, it happens. It absolutely happens. In the car scenario, what I would tell officers is you can either go for the driver, right? Because the driver's got responsibility of the entire car. You do that, but the driver's gonna say, I didn't even know it was there, right? And the passenger's gonna say, I didn't see it. And the two in the back are like, we don't know what you're talking about. So
I
then
needed
you
a ride.
charge, right. Right. I need to get out of Dodge, man. Then you charge all of them. You charge all of them or none of them. And they can use their discretion and say, just give me the alcohol and get going. If the kids haven't had anything to drink, they're just about to make a bad choice. That's up to the copper. They can do that. But again, it's hard to single out that one person when it's all within the reach of everybody. Yeah. That was very important, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Like, this is the greatest story ever, but why am I telling the story?
No, it makes sense. It kind of it
Okay.
ties
Okay.
into the, if we can't charge one person, you're all getting charged.
Right, right.
That's
Well,
it.
equality, right? That's what we're talking about.
Do
Oh, the
you?
one time where you wish it wasn't equal, right? The one time.
Right,
Like
exactly.
equal rights
Exactly.
where? Like, the one time.
Yeah.
Do
And
you?
that's sometimes all it takes.
Do you
And
have?
yes,
Oh, sorry.
contraception.
Yes. We'll make a video about that.
The importance of. Do we all want the orange Cheeto? No. Contraception.
Right. You gotta cover that Cheeto
You
up.
never know what you're gonna get. You never know.
You don't. No one likes soggy Cheetos.
Do you think that
Too far, too far.
some of the things? Soggy.
Sorry.
Don't apologize. Oh,
Soggy
Whoops.
Cheetos. Wow. Nobody does.
I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. We go back to church tonight.
ask for forgiveness later. It's okay. Not from
Right.
us.
I mean, not from us.
Okay. Sorry.
Do you think
Okay.
that with all of this, like all of these different lawsuits, it like there's such a high percentage of it. Like, could this even be? Could we see like because it takes a while for a case to come through, right? So it could take
Right.
years. So is
Oh,
all of
yes.
can any of this be like finalized or I know I'm not using the right term before before the next administration, or is it just kind of like it's just gonna
Right.
wait and see? It's gonna be 10, 20 years before any of this sees any
Sure.
finality to it?
Good question. Here's my perception of that situation. These cases are taking a really long time, right? And we've already had the Supreme Court answer on preliminary injunctions, right? That's like what happens the day after you file your claim. If it's a normal case, all of these cases could have been settled out and discovery would have been done and people would settle, they'd make their deals and then they would go. But this is a really unique situation in the legal field because every single thing that's done Trump is appealing. Every single thing, even things that are established that have been established since before we were a country, is like, well, we're still going to appeal it. So with all these appeals, what happens is the time gets dragged out. And the one thing about this administration is like we're trying to run the clock down. Because I would say if there is a big blue wave that comes at midterms, if we do have that number of people and things flip, they through Congress could do what needs to be done in order to settle these suits. So they can re-implement the statutes that have been taken. They can implement the policies and set it out in a way through Congress that makes it so the executive can't just write an executive order and get rid of this. Because now we know where all the weak spots are, what he's trying to use in order to do what he wants to do. This is what happened on January 6th. And I remind everybody of this. Remember, they said Pence had the power to send it back to the states, right? And if he would just go up and be brave, he could do it. And I remember thinking, like, where the H is that in the law? Because that's not part of the law. And I thought at first it was a joke. I'm like, haha, look at you, silly orange man. But then I'm like, people really thought that was going to happen. They really did. And so what happened for Congress was they went and they made law and they set out a law specifically stating the vice president can't do this kind of crap because it was ambiguous before. So they firmed up that language in the statute. That's what can absolutely happen if the blue wave hits and we pull enough in to Congress. Day one, you hit the ground running. And in fact, I've heard some reps have already drafted a lot of the language that they want in order to overturn or take care of these cases. So they may fizzle out, or if we in 4 years, then right, it flips. The DOJ can, it doesn't matter what spot they're in, can dismiss all of them.
And I think the key thing to remember here is it's not a side issue. It's not, and when it comes to these cases, the 500 plus
Right.
cases are these are violations of Constitution, or so these
Right.
are, so anyone, whether no matter what side of this fence you land on, red, green,
Right.
blue,
Hmm.
everyone should be concerned because it affects all of us, not just one side. So
Hmm.
if anyone, and we're not saying I'm not saying from a political standpoint, I'm just saying a common sense standpoint that these things, it's not a red, blue, green issue. This is our Constitution, what's being
Right.
violated. And if it can be violated there,
Right.
there's a fallout
Oh,
to the average
absolutely.
citizen. Um, so, yeah, just my little 2 cents.
It's true. It's true though. And I say the blue wave because for me, I just feel like I have no idea if the Republicans or if MAGA who they're going to be bringing in next.
Yeah,
So I if there's some reasonable Republicans out there, and I believe that there are in my heart of hearts, they're hiding. It's out there.
they're
Yeah, I mean
afraid. They're afraid to
the
speak up.
exactly. So it would be better to say if the big like respect the Constitution wave came in. Then again they could pull all of this crap out of the courts and take care of it. That would be I think truly the ultimate silver lining in this entire situation is that because I remember now what I was telling my story about. So I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back. So the point is that us in the legal field, we've seen all of this stuff. We know, especially I've been in 25 years. All of these loopholes have always been there, but never exploited. And so now it's like we need to clean it up because we can make noise as attorneys, and I was that way specifically regarding interpreters. It drove me crazy that in my small little town the magistrate, if it was a low level hearing, wouldn't allow me to call an interpreter in if the defendant spoke a different language. He's like, it's too expensive. We're not going to do that. We're out in the middle of nowhere. And like, I took French, so that's useless. So there's not much I could do. And I'm the prosecutor. I'm trying to prosecute this person. And they're speaking the Spanish usually. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And what you're saying is very important because maybe it'll make it so that I want to dismiss this case against you. Maybe there was this huge misunderstanding. We don't know because I can't understand what you're saying. And so you stand up and you take that stance and you say, we need interpreters. And then you get crushed. You get crushed by your boss, by all the government people, and by the prejudice of all of the people in the room. And it's hard to stand up when you've got that much, crushing you, pushing you down.
I've
So I think
I've
I think
witnessed
this is
it.
a well, yeah, yeah.
I've witnessed it.
right, where you've spoken
Ever-
out and it's like, yeah, it
I-
sucks. And I would say though now what's nice, or not nice, but what's helpful is like everybody now can see what we've been seeing for a
Right.
very long time that needed assistance. That even, for me, I became like I can't even remember the name of it, but I became someone that nobody there liked because we were in a small town, deputies, police, city police, the DA, not they all had this huge hatred of immigrants. And they were like, well, magistrate's cool. You gotta don't mess with him. Don't make him mad or we won't get good rulings. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me with that? They don't understand what's being said. And I cannot go in there where the magistrate who's prejudicial could give them 30 days in jail for overdraft of their own account. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? This person's going to be in jail for 30 days and you wouldn't let an interpreter come in so I could understand what had happened or even negotiate with them for a plea deal. And I didn't last, I think, 6 more months, and then I had to leave. I had to
Wow.
leave because everything just got so hostile and, why would you do this? Why is this such a big deal? Because I was like, I'm dismissing this case. There's no way I'm gonna go forward if the defendant doesn't understand. So I was like a radical.
What?
I know, I know. I was the radical one. I was like, I think we've gotta, that's bad that I packed up my stuff, my hubs and my baby, and we left. I'm
You're
like,
like,
see
this
ya.
is.
Wouldn't want to be ya. Full of hatred. So,
I know that's right.
um,
Find somebody else to do it.
yeah,
okay.
That part.
exactly.
I
There
I
is.
I can definitely seen similar situations, and that was one of the things that I feel like affected me in my time in law enforcement is I always felt like, hey, if that's how you feel about them, yeah, I can only imagine what you really feel
Right, right, exactly.
about me.
Exactly.
Being a minority, and I used to really feel bad having to arrest anyone where I couldn't even explain to them why I'm arresting them, and I had absolutely been in situations where I saw that it was, like, almost like being targeted. Like, "Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, they don't have a license. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen it. I've seen it.
exactly.
I've seen it,
Yeah.
and it's sad. It actually makes you it made me, uh, angry. At first, I
Hmm.
felt sorry, but then it just kinda just made me mad
Right.
because, that's just not what I saw before I got into it. When I got into it, I was
Right.
like, "I wanna help. I wanna be a
Hmm.
part of" walking this old lady across the street. I wanna be a
Hmm.
part of do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I didn't look at it
Right.
f for what it was that I wound up seeing being behind the scenes, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying it was all like that I'm not saying at all, but yeah, that was one of
Yeah.
the tough things that I did
Mhm.
actually 100% witness
Yeah.
firsthand. So I know exactly what you mean. Very small town
Absolutely.
too. Small
Well,
town.
right. Exactly.
Small
We
town.
and once those doors open, when you get that behind the scenes knowledge, you can't ever really shut it again. And so how I feel a little bit is that the country now has opened those doors and everybody can now take a peek and see how things actually work. It's not what you think it is. It's not all the like, oh, the US is the most amazing thing ever. Like we got problems. I'm not saying they're insurmountable, but we're not perfect. Our country's not perfect and we need to work on these issues rather than just putting them under a rug for somebody else down the road to take care of. And that's one thing that drives me bonkers as well. It's like, this is a problem. Why can't we just make it better?
Well, I do think that a certain someone is like an agent of chaos and has
Yes.
no interest in making things better. It's for a good majority of the public, which is a shame.
The have and
Um,
have nots.
have and
Mm,
have nots.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're going to start asking our guests what it is that you are looking forward to in the new year with everything that's going on currently,
Hmm.
personal, community, whatever. What is it that you are looking forward to, in the upcoming year
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's a great
or
question.
new year?
Well, one thing truly that I am truly looking forward to, honestly, is we've got a clash of the titans in the legal field. And I use that term loosely because the jerks aren't really titans, but we have split like West Side Story. There are those of us that are like honor, uphold the Constitution, taking care of business. This is our job, our calling. We want to help people. And then there's the slime balls that in college would, in law school, would like steal whatever stuff you were writing down or like pay somebody else to write their brief. Or they're like, well, I don't have to do anything. My dad's rich. Those scumballs, those are the guys and gals on the other side. And so what I really think could happen, ooh, I've got my fingers crossed. We're like, I think we will overtake them. I think we will see a lot of them being pulled from their positions. And so that's something I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to because in the moment, like even with Comey, in the moment, the attorney's like, well, yes, I did this and I'm so important and such. So you get that original hurt. But then we come back and we're like, and now you're done. That's what I'm waiting for. That's gonna be next year. Yeah. I keep track of it.
I'm
I
with you.
love
I
it. It's
think
the comeback. It's the
That's right.
comeback.
Write that down. Mhm.
Telling
I'd be like,
you.
you tried it, but Uno reverse.
Mhm. We're only quiet
Got
now,
'em.
so we're saving up our energy because we're gonna be bringing the heat.
So you
Love
guys,
it.
Attorney Di is fantastic. If you are not following her, do it today. Subscribe, do all the things. Attorney underscore Di, I think, is on TikTok and something similar on YouTube.
Same name, yep.
Okay. If you are of the mindset of learning more about the legal field, she is the person to watch. And it is from a very neutral standpoint, and it is about the law. Now, we all have our personal opinions and we align, but when it
Mhm.
comes to these lives, it is about the law and what the law says and what the law does not say. And that's what she does. And you will learn and you will understand, which I think is really, really important considering how many of us don't know enough about the law, and seeing as how it's affected so much of us, now is a perfect time to learn.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I
Yay.
just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I'm always thanking you, but it
Oh,
really is so genuine. Um, first of all we thank you for coming on, our humble podcast, you know what I'm saying?
sure.
Because you out here doing big things, and we're trying to climb that ladder too, like, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Mhm.
But the fact that you
Absolutely.
we going. We going. We going to. But,
Don't forget
you
me when
know
you're so big, okay? Don't
Oh
forget
no.
me.
Mm.
absolutely not. We be
Not
like,
happening.
"Yo, that's our girl right there, honey."
Yeah,
When
send me
we
a
was
fruit basket.
when we was so, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it really,
Oh,
really
you're
is.
most welcome. It's
Um,
Thank
my
you, thank you,
pleasure.
thank you. And thank you for taking the time to really go in depth and explain to us so that we can get it.
Right.
Um and I again, I mean, I hate to go back to that, but I found that's how a lot of when I was in law enforcement, that's how
Mhm.
a lot of them got over because people don't know the law. And when you know the law, you can protect yourself and you can protect your community. Um, And so thank you for taking the time to let us know that some of those rights we thought we had, we don't have. But that's not, we're looking at the brighter side.
We're going to go get them. We're going to get them.
Okay.
It's a long list. It takes time.
But thank you so much, because that saying back in the day, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
thank you so very, very much. We appreciate you so much. And anytime you want to come back, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm sorry, did I just say that? I did.
You
Just
did.
what you want to talk about?
You have an honorary return invite whenever you want.
Oh, that's so sweet. It's so
All
much
right.
fun hanging out with you ladies. I have a great time. You know, I do love the Constitution. I even brought a little friend. Maybe next time he can be involved. Here's the bill.
Oh, I thought you were going to show Pearl her cake. Pearl. Oh.
It's the bill on Capitol Hill.
Oh.
And he's feeling assaulted recently.
With good reason.
Exactly.
Child.
But we feel so honored, truly, and even a little smarter.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
But you guys, please remember, you've got to follow Attorney Di. This is where you're going to learn the most that you can about what we all need to know. We appreciate you guys sticking with us to part 3. But thank you.
Thank you so much. So much.
Let's talk about it with us right now. Maybe tears or laughs out loud. Let's make a difference as we speak through conversation for our future and future generations. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.